the descent into tyranny, or trying to slow the descent into tyranny. Hi there, crypto fans. Dick Allgire here. Another beautiful day in Hawaii. I'm going to dance on the razor's edge of becoming political today. I'm going to do a balancing act, and it may get a little bit political. I don't want to offend anybody, but this is something that needs to be said. All right. They don't teach this in high school and junior high, and I'll explain why they don't at the end of this. There's a big picture message there, but I want to talk a little bit about, do you know what the difference is between a law and a regulation, or the difference between a law and a directive, or a difference between a law and a policy? So what's a regulation? What's a directive? What's a policy? All right, let's go back to the founding of the U.S. under the Constitution. We have three branches of government. We have the legislative, which creates laws. We have the executive, which signs the laws that the legislative branch has written and designed. And then you have the judicial branch, which rules on whether or not these laws are constitutional, whether or not it's a real valid law under our Constitution, which is the framework of how the government works. So in an ideal world, when the United States was the United States, that's the way it worked. You had laws enacted by Congress, signed by the legislature, and approved by the judicial. Now what we have is hordes of unelected bureaucrats, sniveling little would-be dictators, power-hungry little political operatives who go do an end run around this whole system, because a lot of them do get appointed by the executive, but most of them have long-term, they supersede, what's the word I want? They outlive the executive administrations. They're there in perpetuity, these unelected bureaucrats. So they create regulations. They issue policy directives. These aren't laws. They're not constitutional. It's not the way the government was supposed to work. So Trump appointed constitutional Supreme Court justices who ruled earlier this year, within the last year. It was called the Chevron ruling. And what the Supreme Court ruled was that we have all these agencies, the FDA, the FCC, the SEC, there's like hundreds of them, and they're staffed by thousands of these unelected bureaucrats that were making policy and making regulations and issuing directives, which is outside the framework of the legislature making laws that were approved by the Supreme Court. So what the Supreme Court ruled was, no, you can't do that. The Supreme Court ruled that federal agencies can't make law, and if they do issue policy and regulations and directives, those policies, regulations, and directives have to be approved, regulated, and monitored by the judicial branch. So it puts the government back in balance, and it gets rid of a lot of these onerous regulations. The best thing that could happen would be for Elon Musk to come in and, yes, head up that government. He would be the big dog, the Doge, the Department of Government, what would he call that? Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, kind of an inside joke. The Department of Government Efficiency, where he would use he would like just get rid of a lot of these guys and get rid of these regulations, policies, and have it go back to laws being created by the legislature. Now, some of you will go, oh, no, we need all these federal bureaucracies because the corporations would run amok. If the corporation is going to run amok and you want to stop them, elect a representative, pass a law, make sure it is constitutional by the judicial branch, and then is enforced by the executive branch. That's how it's supposed to work. Now, why don't they teach this to kids anymore? Because this system, this nation-state constitutional republic, is about to become extinct. I hate to tell that to you, but that's what the administrators of this world have decided, and that's where we're moving. Young people that are being born today, toddlers, kids in grade school, certainly maybe even junior high, are going to grow up and they're not taught about this. They don't believe in it. They're told this is an outdated, archaic, racist, unequal system. So they're going to accept a new system that is going to be trustless. And the way it will be trustless will be through distributed ledger blockchain technology that will achieve consensus through social credit scores, social responsibility, things that are taught by apps, by interacting with apps. My wife and I had an interesting experience in Korea where it showed me where this is going. You have an app in Seoul, South Korea, where if you need a taxi, it's not called Uber, it's called Kako Taxi. They've got a couple agencies, but you download an app, you want to go somewhere, so you type in where you are and you order a taxi and you type in where you want to go. And the app immediately tells you, all right, the taxi will be there in a minute and a half and it'll take you to 12 minutes, to where you want to go, and it'll cost this much. So we're doing that, we're typing in, taxi shows up, it tells you the license number, like it'll be licensed, the last four numbers will be 1783, and 1783 pulls up, you get in, and you gotta say, oh, and you go, Wencho, go this way, that way, and then you pay through the app, and that works very nicely. Where we ran afoul of this was my wife's sister is in a wheelchair, and so we had trouble accessing the road in front of our hotel, so the taxi was pulling up like 40 meters that way, and we couldn't get to it. The taxi, they get there in a minute, and if you're not there, they bolt on you. So the taxi flagged us as a no-show, and we got a bad rating from the driver. As we were listed as bad customers because we ordered a taxi and we weren't there when we were supposed to be there. And so we found that no taxi drivers would pick us up after that. We got a bad rating, we were blacklisted, and in order to get somewhere, we had to have the hotel order a taxi for us, or my wife was stopping somebody on the street. I'm gonna say, oh, can you help me? I don't, my Wi-Fi's not working, and we'd come up with an excuse and they'd take pity on us, they'd order a taxi for us. But you're gonna have a social credit score, and things are not going to be run so much by laws and constitutions in nation states. Young children are going to be cellular automatons within a system of consensus in a trustless system that is governed by blockchain. That's a mouthful, but that's where we're going. We talk a lot about this on our private site, which is futureforecastinggroup.com. And you can see more of us there. Cryptos are getting, they had a surge over the weekend. Bitcoin was up to 68, 69,000. We're looking for 80 to 104,000 this year. Bitcoin 80 to 104,000. And that's that. I hope I didn't offend anybody with my political statements here, but that's nation states going downhill. Aloha from Hawaii.